I've been searching for one of these for a long time in a galaxy far, far away. And I found one at Euro-Asian Bob's. Let's take a look at it. So the time has come, Mrs. Wizard, that I need to sell a few cars, and I bought another one.
You did that in the wrong order.
I did that in the wrong order?
You got that and haven't sold the others yet.
Well, they're coming this week to buy one of them. So the Cubie, or the Nissan Cube, is being bought by Leo. The guy you've seen in here has a silver Lamborghini Murcielago. He bought actually a Prius from my daughter, and now he wants to buy the Cube. He offered me an offer I couldn't refuse. I said, it's yours. And the Leaf is going to be for sale as well. I just don't have the time to mess with that project, and it needs to go to someone who could actually use it. I don't drive it that much anymore. There'll be some more information on it. We'll do a video on it, but that's going away as well. This is a 2013 Scion TC. I've been spending the last couple of weeks kind of scanning. I know that these cars are being sold. They're going to be going away. It's like, what do I replace it with? I need something that's reliable. I don't want an Audi because I don't want to work on it all the time. And you guys know I always say buy Toyota. And that's basically what this is. It's a rebadged Toyota. It's a Scion. I searched several places, Facebook Marketplace. I actually had a few people bring a car up to me here at the shop to sell me a car. I found some that I was interested in, and I look at them and they're just trashed, guys. I mean, they're just roached. In fact, one of them was an S550, I think an '08. And it was kind of in the price range I was looking for, and I knew there was going to be a few things wrong. But the seller said everything else is great, everything else is good to go, just has a few items. I said, okay, bring it up and I'll take a look at it. This thing was roached from front to rear, guys. It had valve cover gaskets leaking, oil cooler leaking. The drive shaft would literally contact the bottom of the car when you would get on it, accelerate. The power adjustable steering wasn't working. A lot of other features weren't working. It just kept adding up really fast. And I just gave the keys back to the guy. I was like, nah, I don't have time for all this. I envisioned a few things wrong, not 17 things wrong. So that was a no-go. So I said, I've had enough of this. I'm just going to make it easy on myself. I'm going to scan Euro-Asian Bob's inventory. I should have done that in the first place. You guys have seen some amazing cars come through here that he sells, and like I've said before, I don't know where he finds them. Now this one is not perfection, but it is very nice for the price I paid for it. I hadn't even realized we were filling out the paperwork at Euro-Asian Bob's, and he was like, Wizard, did you know this is like the 10th car you've bought from me? I'm like, wow, I hadn't been keeping track. I didn't know that. 10 cars? He's like, yeah, maybe there'll be 10 more. I said, probably. So he had this on his lot for $10,000. He gave me a Wizard discount for $9,000 because I bought 10 cars from him. It has 139,000 miles on it, and it is in very good shape. Now, before I went down and plunked down the cash and signed the dotted line, I talked to Jared from Wrench Every Day. He used to be a certified Toyota technician. He knows Toyotas inside and out. Scions and Toyotas, Lexus, all of them. He's like a walking encyclopedia of Toyota. I said, tell me about these Scion TCs. I'm not real familiar with them. I love the styling. I really love it. But I've really not worked on a whole lot of them. There may be because there's not that many of them out there. He said, Wizard, they're a great car. He said, they are a very good car. Number one, because they're a Toyota, but it's basically a Camry with a different body style and some Scion styling and influence in it. But you're basically getting a Camry, and it's that reliable. He said, there's always a but. He said, but these cars are some of the most beat-on cars on the road. He said, don't expect too much. He said, in the world of cars, the Scion TC is a punching bag. He said, people get these cars and beat the hell out of them. I was actually sad to hear that. I was like, why would anyone do that to a car? But I looked at a few others at a few other lots in the area, and sure enough, they had all had wreck damage. They've been into a ditch, through a ditch, kind of like my daughter did on my Prelude. Just crazy stuff. Oh, I had to replace the bumper. This was broke. This has been wrecked. It's like, oh my goodness. But I found this one at Eurasian Bob's, and it has had a very good life. Let's go ahead and walk around it. So the front end styling, it looks really cool. I really like the look of it, but that's not my favorite part of this car. However, it does have a really neat front end. We can see right here that this fog lamp has been busted out. It does still work, but the glass is broke. I have a set of those on order that are actually yellow colored. They'll kind of go with the blue styling, blue color. And he did mention that this bumper had been repainted, and it's very close. It's close enough for me. There's a very, very subtle difference, but it's not enough for me to go ahead and pull it off and have it repainted. He said it wasn't damaged, it just had some scratches, and he just had it cleaned up. It's a little dirty right now because I've been driving it. But the side styling, like the windows and the roof, how it's kind of flat. The roof, actually it's kind of a muscular styling. Now this car obviously is not fast. And really at my age, at my point in life, I'm really not into a super fast car. I like the 18-inch wheels, and I really dig the color. It's called Nautical Blue. I did some reading on forums on Scion Life, or whatever the name of that forum is. And Nautical Blue is probably one of the harder colors to come by. And I actually got one with that color. I like the styling on the rear. The taillights look really good to me. And how it's so short from the wheel to the rear. Just the proportions. Everything just really adds up to a really neat car to me. One cool thing about this car that I really love is it's not a tiny little trunk right here. It's a hatchback, guys. And those seats can fold down, and you have a really large storage area. We'll go ahead and lift the carpet up. You can tell a lot about the maintenance of a car, like I've mentioned, by looking at this stuff. Everything's intact as it left the factory. It's just really nice. There's the jack, the crowbar, whatever you want to call that. There's a towing eye. Even has some of the paperwork and some straps and things that go with it. Everything's there. And the spare has air. It does look like they may have used a spare at one point, which doesn't surprise me, with 139,000 miles on it, but not for very long. And right here at the back wheel, there is a scuff. You can see it's got, the paint is slightly scuffed. There's a white area there. Maybe this, whatever scuffed it was a white colored vehicle. I might have that buffed out professionally and get that cleaned up, and it'll look really nice. It's got Firestone Firehawks all the way around with very good tread on them. Around the body, there's no serious dents or damage, nothing major. Everything is totally tolerable and easy to deal with. Let's go ahead and pop the hood. This one doesn't have hood struts or springs or anything. It just has a prop rod, and that's it, which is simple. This is a Toyota Camry 2.5 liter four-cylinder with 180 horsepower and roughly 175 pound-feet of torque. Not necessarily a hot rod motor. It's not a high revving screaming engine. It actually has pretty decent torque down low. It does very, very nicely. For the kind of driving I'm going to do, it's actually perfect. Good gas mileage, decent power, not lots of power, but it'll do the trick for me. Everything's very clean under here. One thing to look out for when you buy a car like this is the air cleaner is missing and they have some Mugen intake garbage on it. This one is stock. I really like that. I'm going to keep it that way. And you guys know that I like ease of maintenance. All 4 coils and plugs are right there, easy to get to. The valve cover gasket, if I ever have to change it, everything's right up top, very easy to do. If the catalytic converter goes bad, it's literally just right down there. You can see the big round exhaust part down there. Exhaust manifold, I don't have to curl up inside of a ball to fix it. It's right there if a gasket went out. The alternator is right there, easy to get to. This has electric power steering, so there is no power steering pump. And the AC compressor is right down below the alternator, also pretty easy to get to. These are very reliable, these cars, and if you do have to work on them, it's very easy, but usually you don't have to do a whole lot. That's what I really like about it as well. Let's go ahead and let Mrs. Wizard give you an interior tour.
Welcome, ladies and gents. Hey, here we are starting out with that gauge cluster again. Look, it has 139,000 miles. And you know, there's so many times we say, don't buy a car over 100,000 miles. But this is one we actually do encourage to buy over 100,000 miles because this is a Toyota-based product. It's barely broken in. If we look at the dash, it's like a mile long. I'm surprised I'm not creating an echo going across there. It is a beast. Yeah, but it is a hard plastic, but it's in really good shape and no cracks or anything like that. As we move down again, there's a lot of hard plastic in the car. If we go into our stereo, we do see it as a Pioneer-based stereo with Bluetooth, which he's already got set up. And here's our simple HVAC controls, pretty basic. It is a single zone system, but which shouldn't be a problem. He's going to be driving this back and forth to work, and I'm not going to be in the car with him. He'll be riding alone, so he can put it whatever temperature he feels like. One really cool feature on this is that it is a 6-speed manual transmission. That makes this much more fun to drive, and in reality, even though it doesn't have lots of horsepower, when you're in control of that transmission, you can give it that extra boost. We've got a couple of cup holders here, and as we move around to our door panel, there's one in the door, there's one on the other door. This car has enough where you could, have whatever beverage you want at any time. As we look at the door panel, more hard plastic, but they've got a couple of designs to it, got some different textures to there. There is a small section that is fabric, which is that lighter value. As we look at the seat, it is a two-tone gray. No tears, no rips. It is fabric, and it does have a nice design in it as well. As we move to the back seat, it actually is really, really big. When we did our test drive, I actually started out sitting back here. Euro-Asian Bob asked us, hey, I have a car that needs to get picked up. You mind dropping me off there while we're doing our test drive? We're like, yeah, sure. I was amazed. The only thing that was kind of weird was there's not a lot of headroom back there. And your head, when you're seated back, is over the glass. And so sometimes my head did touch the top, but then again, I am 5'9", and if this is where the kids sit, they're probably not as tall as me. As we keep sliding up, we'll see that there is a lovely, kind of a 2-section panoramic roof. There's one section in the back that is non-adjustable. It just has a kind of a cover that goes over it to give it some shade. But the one in the front actually has the ability to open, so you can get some more ventilation up there if you'd like. It also has a cover that retracts as well. So there's really not a lot of headliner in the car, and what little bits there are not stained or sagging. Okay, as we end up with the steering wheel, as always, we'll see that it's got some nice controls on the steering wheel, so the Wizard can control his sound and his volume easily. He's missed that in some of his current cars. One thing that's also interesting is that the steering wheel has a flat section on the bottom. It's kind of odd. So I've not had the joy of driving this car yet, but I will pretty soon. We just picked it up yesterday. I'm interested to see what it looks like underneath.
One thing I just actually realized while Mrs. Wizard was filming the interior, I was kind of scanning the roof, and I realized it's entirely glass other than the side bolsters. Look, guys. It's glass all the way front to back. So I guess you don't have to worry about hail dents in the roof, but I guess you could worry about cracked glass on your roof. Interesting. One thing I'm seeing right off the bat is when they repainted this bumper and put it back on, I imagine that this little bumper trim piece, or whatever you call it, a belly pan, was damaged or partially missing and they didn't even put it on. But I already have that on order. I already kind of knew that. It's like 50 bucks on eBay for a brand new one. It's just a plastic piece that goes around kind of like in a rainbow shape right there. So I know that that's missing. I also see right here The wheel liner is half gone. So I've also got that on order. That was only 30 bucks on eBay for a brand new one. This side has the wheel liner intact, so I don't have to purchase that one. But that's not that big of a deal. We'll look right up here. We see our condenser is nice and dry. There's no ultraviolet dye leaking anywhere. Nothing dripping out. The radiator's not leaking. Here's our 6-speed transmission and the engine. Everything's nice and dry there. I can tell it's had a recent oil change. It's got brand new housing. These can be a real pain for some people if you don't have the right tool to get that plastic cap off for the oil filter. Check the brakes. It's got fairly new brakes on it. Nothing's loose. I know nothing's loose. I've driven it and it's quiet. No noise at all. Nothing loose. Move over to here. Brakes are good. Nothing's loose. Sway bar's tight. The engine's dry back there as well. The fact that the engine's dry and a lot of the bolts are still shiny doesn't surprise me because I see that a lot on Toyota products. It's a real hallmark that they have. Here's our exhaust. There's a catalytic converter here and then a resonator chamber. The big beefy cross member there. No rust on the floor pans. Everything looks good there. Nothing damaged. Exhaust is in good shape. Here's our fuel tank. Nice and dry. Nothing leaking. Back here to the back wheels. The pads. They're about half gone, but they got a little life left. One thing I am seeing, as you can see right through here, that shock is blown out. You can see an oily residue all around the top. It's not bouncy or causing any issues at the moment. I'll go ahead and get a set of those on order as well. These brakes are half gone, nothing loose. And our shock, although it's not as bad as the other side, it's still a little bit of residue coming out of it. And here's our final muffler. I don't know, that's kind of a weird looking muffler. It looks like a torpedo. But yeah, everything's intact there. It's not rusted or rotted out. And the tires, let's check the date code on them. 2020, towards the end of 2020. So there might be 1 year old. So the tires are good all the way around. I got a lot of life left there. Let's go ahead and get this thing on the ground. So are there a few things wrong with this car? Yes, but I'm not mad. I have no issues with Eurasian Bob over anything that I've found. And the reason why is because of the price I paid for this car. I paid $9,000. These typically go for 10 to 12. This year range with less miles, they go a little bit higher than that. I run into that problem a lot here at the shop, and I've also seen it a lot at dealerships. In fact, with Eurasian Bob, he's told me that people want a $30,000 immaculate car that's absolutely perfect. But yet they go to a used car lot and search at $9,000 level of cars. And then sit there and knock it. It's got a scratch, it's got that. You're going to take some money off for this, take some money. You're in the wrong price range, guy. We've actually sold cars here before. Crazy D has had people come look at cars and they start nickeling and diming everything, and I finally take over the sale from Crazy D and I say, guy, you're in the wrong price range. You need to be looking at a car like this that is double the price. You came here today looking for a $20,000 car when I have advertised it for half that. Therefore, it's not going to be like a $20,000 car. And usually they leave pretty pissed off. So keep that in mind at used car lots. They're going to try to give you a good car if they're a reputable dealer. But they're not going to restore the car to factory condition. If they restored every car that came through the door, they will declare bankruptcy within the first 6 months of opening their dealership. It's just not possible, guys. There's no way. The rear shocks are leaking, but they still had some life left in them, and the pans under the bottom, really, it could go without them. But I want everything to be right, and I don't have a problem to pay to make it right. I don't expect Euro-Asian Bob to do that and yet still hold to his $9,000 price. That's not fair. Actually, I remember Mrs. Wizard, the 2016 Land Rover Discovery Sport we bought from a very large dealership. And the overhead console was literally hanging, almost about to fall on us when we bought it. I didn't get mad at the guy, the salesman. It's not his fault. He didn't do that to the vehicle. I said, don't worry about that. That's no problem. I can fix that. We continued with the deal. There might have been a few other little small things I had to fix on it, but otherwise we got a really good car. Now on Mrs. Wizard's Maserati Levante, we haven't had to do anything, but we paid for that. We don't have to fix anything. It is what we expected it to be. Now if we went looking for a Levante at Euro-Asian Bob's for 15 grand and expect it to be like Mrs. Wizard's car, therein lies a problem. The dealership is not the problem, you are the problem. So, keep that in mind when you're looking for a car. So now back to the really sweet little TC here. Is it a barn burner? No. It's not going to win any race records. Does it handle like a Porsche 911 GT3? No. It's not one. It doesn't even try to be one. But for what it wants to be, it does very well. It handles good, it drives good, it has decent acceleration, it has good gas mileage, and it looks really cool. And it was only $9,000. So I'm very happy with my purchase from Euro-Asian Bob. These are actually kind of hard to find, like I mentioned, in good shape, or at least in decent shape. They've been beat on pretty hard. So if you're curious what kind of tools we're going to use to fix this car, and it's getting to be the Christmas season and you don't want to receive Christmas socks or boxers or something unusable, send them to my Amazon affiliates link in the description below and say, there's all kinds of things there that I would love to have. Why don't you pick something from there? We got lots of tools, and pretty much everything we use in the shop is listed there for sale. We get a small cut, we really appreciate it. And make sure to hit the subscribe button because we've made lots of headway on the Ferrari 308 in the last week. Magic Mike has been busy. And there's more projects to come. Thanks for watching.